The Trump economy is taking off, and the Democrats, the liberals, the never-Trumpers, the fake news media have lost another talking point. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, brought to you by Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. If you're in the state of Florida and you need roof repair or replacement, he's your guy. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. He works on residential, commercial, municipal as well. Online at LaportaRoofing.com. Okay, so the Democrats have all these talking points that mean nothing. And, this is not new to Trump with the liberal talking points. Since I've been in this business over 30 years, the talking points are always there. They just change them. They used to be during the Reagan era. Oh, Reagan gave them a corporate welfare. And they always have the party of Strom Thurmond, and they always have these talking points, and they all evaporate because their talking points are always wrong. In fact, Democrats are never right. And they started out with President Trump's second and non-consecutive glorious term. Isn't it crazy? 4 years off, he's back, and he's doing perfect in the presidency. And they had the first talking point was the egg prices. Oh, the egg prices. We're getting about the egg price. It's amazing how many eggs liberals buy. I mean, how many eggs do you buy? And of course, egg prices have gone down 87% in Trump's first 100 days, even less than the 100 days. So that went away. There's been a few other talking points, but the one for the last couple of weeks has been, how's your 401k doing? In fact, if you watch me in the mornings on YouTube, you'll see nonstop Democrats in my chat room. How's your 401k? And I even get calls on the air from listeners, and they'll ask that question, how's your 401k? Now, I don't have a 401k. I don't own stocks. I'm not in the stock market, but that's their talking point. And then, boom, what happens? Here's Fox Business this morning.
436,000 increase in the number of people who are employed. So this is an amazing report. The number of people, the labor force participation rate rose. So this is a really strong number. I wanted to mention one other quick thing. About 2 weeks ago, every headline, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, was, the stock market is crashing. Yep. And since then, the market has been up, like 2,800 points.
Yeah, well, you don't see that.
By the way, I don't see headlines about that.
That was the point. That was the point.
In fact, the Dow closed up 564.47 points. You heard that. The Dow closed 564.47 points. See, Trump is a top economist. He's got the economics degree. He made himself a billionaire, and he started with just a small loan of $1 million. I know a lot of people say, loan of $1 million, that's a lot of money. Well, first off, he borrowed the $1 million from his father, and he paid him back. How many kids pay back mom and dad? I don't know any. You give it to your kids, but he paid it back, and he took that $1 million and turned it into billions upon billions. So he's a top economist, Donald Trump, and he's surrounded by people who are. And, with Donald Trump in office, I'm like a stress-free person. I don't worry about any of these things because I know Donald Trump is there. I know he knows what he's doing. He's incredibly competent, and he has people around him who are competent. So I don't worry about these things. And so far as the stock market closing over 500 points up, do you think that talking point's going to disappear by the beginning of the week? How's your 401k doing? How's your 401k doing? Maybe. You never know. This is CNN.
All right, breaking moments ago, the April jobs report just released showing steady gains amid some economic uncertainty. I want to bring in CNN's Matt Egan, who joins me now with more. All right, what are we seeing in the numbers? What is the context?
Trump economy,
booming. We were bracing for a slowdown in the jobs market. We did not get that. We got steady hiring. Yeah,
look at this, steady hiring in Trump's first 100 days. And what this idiot on CNN, fake news CNN, is saying is that, we were trying to manifest bad numbers. We want the economy to crash to hurt Trump.
Market is just relentless. Let me run you through the key numbers.
Yeah, let's do it.
177,000 jobs were added in the month of April. That easily beat forecasts for 135,000. So not even close there. The unemployment rate stayed low. It stayed at 4.2%. When we look at where the jobs are right now, we're seeing solid gains in a number of places. Accommodation and food services, right? Restaurants, hotels, hospitals.
Okay, now that's interesting. I don't know about the hospitals, but restaurants and hotels. That means people have more money in their pocket, or they're feeling confident about the future. So they're going out to dinner, right? They're doing luxury things. They're traveling and staying in hotels, not Airbnbs, hotels. That means people either have more money in their pocket or their future expectations are high because Trump's the president.
Healthcare, private education, all of them adding jobs. One place where we saw a loss of jobs again was the federal government.
Yes, exactly. We saw a loss of jobs in the federal government. Thank you, Elon Musk and DOGE. You're doing a great job.
As the DOGE cuts to the workforce continue. But still, when we really zoom out here, this jobs market has been solid, right? I mean, 177,000 jobs. That, when we look at the trend, look at this. We saw that March was actually significantly revised lower to 185,000 jobs added. That's down from the original report. So you can see that there really isn't all that much of a change here. These are still very solid numbers.
Yeah, very solid numbers because Trump and his team know exactly what they are doing. Always trust in Trump. And these liberals, I know there's not as many liberals as there used to be because so many people have been red-pilled over these last 4 years of suffering during Obama's third term, the Biden regime, and everything that had been going on. But things are looking up, aren't they? And the confidence in the American economy by the American people is up, hiring's up, only in the government, thanks to President Trump and the DOGE team. This is awesome stuff. Okay, this is awesome stuff. This is truly the golden age of America, just like our favorite president, our greatest president, Donald Trump, said it would be. Oh, boy. Okay, so then Van Jones, did you see this? Van Jones spoke with 3 black Trump voters who in the past were never Trumpers. And oh boy, things didn't go all that well for Van Jones or CNN.
You weren't always a Republican.
No. Actually, I come from a family that was like super Democratic. My first time voting, I voted Democrat. I voted for Joe Biden.
What about Trump appealed to you?
Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you can.
I mean, part of it is he's an asshole. I like authenticity.
You voted.
That means he's bad. He doesn't mess around. He's real.
Like authenticity.
You voted for Obama then you voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016.
This is a woman,
2020,
black woman.
You voted for Donald Trump. What made the change?
I began listening to someone. Her name is Candace Owens, and I read her book, and it just opened my eyes to maybe he's not this person that I have been led to believe that he was.
Well, hopefully this lady doesn't find her way back to Candace Owens, who's ripping Trump and saying he's controlled by the Jews these days. That's why I talk about this mental break that Candace Owens has had, because she's so important. She was doing such great work, and now what is she doing? Doing the work of anti-Semites. But this is great.
So you voted against Trump in 2016.
Yes.
But then in 2020 you voted for him?
Absolutely.
Why?
I saw how things were going during his first term, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I was pleased with what was happening. I saw the economy getting better. I saw country relations in certain countries getting better.
Yeah, this is an amazing thing, because I know a lot of MAGA people know this, but not as many people know this as they should. The black community was 100% Republican in this country for a long time. And then something happened. And I'll tell you what happened in a moment. But I first want to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. You Patreon supporters, your support plays a large part in making this program possible. And I don't mean just my podcast. I mean all my content. And your support is greatly appreciated and does help out a lot. I was able to build my studio at home so I could broadcast on the radio from my home, which I do most of the time now. That's thanks to you Patreon supporters. And it's greatly, greatly appreciated. And if you're a Patreon supporter, you have access to commercial-free editions of all the podcast episodes, plus exclusive content that my wife Kathy and I both post to the Patreon page. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout out on each and every podcast episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish, Wilkerson, John S., Frank, Dale, David, Laura, Rob, and SF Jr. Thank you to our top Patreon supporters. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode. Okay, so these black Republicans on state end of Van Jones, it's a beautiful thing because we've gotten to this phase now where being a black Republican is very common. When I first started going to Republican events and associating with conservatives, there were hardly any black people there, sometimes none, back in the 90s, even in the early 2000s. And, prior to Trump coming down the escalator. And sometimes, Republican clubs meet all over the place in this country. And Republican clubs sometimes will invite me and Steve Kane to go to their events. And we used to do that a lot. I haven't done it in a long time. But we used to go to Republican clubs a lot. And sometimes the only black person you would see would be the guest speaker. And what they would end up doing is a lot of times they would talk about how they escaped the Democrat plantation. And it was such an unusual thing for a black person to be a Republican that they were the guest speaker of Republican clubs. And then I went to, I've been to so many Trump rallies, but there was one rally in particular where I saw a big change. This was in Trump's first term. It was here. It was in Sunrise, Florida, at the arena where the Florida Panthers hockey team play. And it was Thanksgiving week. And I remember I went there and I actually ran into my sister that I had never met before. I have a sister that I'd never met before. So we have the same father, different mothers. And she was with her mother, who I also had never met, at the Trump rally. It's crazy. And we live in different parts of the state of Florida, too. And I guess MAGA's in the genes. But it was Thanksgiving week. And I remember at the time I talked about this. When I got there, I was shocked at how many minorities were there, blacks, Hispanics, because you didn't see that in the past at Republican events. Even the first few Trump rallies I went to in the first campaign, it was like the old days. And I noticed a major transformation of diversity in those attending Republican events at this Trump rally. And I was sitting down. I had Hispanic people from different countries sitting next to me, not Cuban. They were from different countries, not Cuba. And I talked about it at the time that President Trump has broken this glass ceiling, and the Democrats are done because they were losing minorities. Now they've totally lost them. And blacks were Republican until the 1960 presidential campaign. And I'll give you the Reader's Digest version of this. But you can look this up on your own, and it's a fascinating story. When Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, at the time of the Rosa Parks incident, where that Democrat bus driver called the cops on her and she got arrested, she was a Republican. So was Martin Luther King. And blacks were Republicans in this country. When the Montgomery bus boycott, those were all Republicans. the blacks, not the white racists. They were the Democrats. And during the presidential campaign, when Senator Kennedy was running against Vice President Nixon, Martin Luther King was arrested by a sheriff in Georgia, which, Democrat sheriff, Deep South, had him in the jail out in the middle of the country. You got to understand, this is 1959, 1960. There's no internet. There's no cell phones. He was isolated. His wife, Martin Luther King's wife, found out through his people that he was being held, and they were afraid that this Democrat, racist, segregationist, Southern Democrats sheriff was going to lynch the Reverend Martin Luther King. So she frantically started calling everyone she could get a hold of. She got a hold of Vice President Nixon, who couldn't get him out. And the reason that Vice President Richard Nixon could not get Martin Luther King, now keep in mind, there's no social media, there's no cable news, The reason that Vice President Richard Nixon could not get Martin Luther King out of this racist sheriff's jail in Georgia is because the sheriff was a Democrat and he wasn't going to do anything for a Republican. He had no juice. So Coretta Scott King got a hold of, and I can't remember which aide it was. I can't remember the name of the aide, but you guys can look it up. She got a hold of a campaign aide who was a senior aide of Senator Kennedy and told her what happened. And he went over immediately to Senator Kennedy and told him what was going on. And Bobby Kennedy Sr., did not want his brother to get involved in this. That's right. Bobby Kennedy, the future senator, the future attorney general, Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s dad, was trying to talk his brother out of getting Martin Luther King out of jail because they thought they would lose the Southern vote. But President Kennedy did it anyway. And he got the sheriff on the phone and he made a deal and they let Martin Luther King go under the condition that when he got out, he would endorse Senator Kennedy for president. And he did just that. He got out of the jail. He was let out of the jail by the racist sheriff. And he went to the news cameras and endorsed Senator Kennedy over Vice President Nixon. And if you go back and find that news footage, I haven't looked at it in years, but I do remember that it's not the normal Martin Luther King. He looked scared because the sheriff was going to lynch him. And it was like a hostage video. And that incident with Martin Luther King and all this, that's what turned blacks from the Republican Party to the racist, god-awful Democrat Party. It was right there. And Kennedy got their vote in 1960. Now, I don't know more than that because, that's what we know. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Kennedys organized the whole thing with that sheriff to set that up. Would you? I wouldn't be surprised either. But now here we are. That was 59. That was 60. Here we are in 2025, and things have been corrected. Blacks have come back to the Republican Party that freed the slaves, ended Jim Crow, ended segregation, and all of that. And that's a great thing, and it's a very good thing. And they're not going to get them back. And it's an amazing thing that's happened. President Trump has the most diverse political movement in the history of the United States. And you see it right here, don't you? My name's Brian Craig. We're going to take our first break and be right back. We're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Lynn from Boynton. I just received my 7th and 8th set of Mike Lindell sheets. This time we got flannel ones, which we had never had. I got one for my husband for Christmas. He loves it. Oh, my God. And especially with the cold days and nights we've been having the last few months in Florida. I got 2 more. I send them to my friends for Christmas now, and they just love them. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, I have the flannels, too. You're like Goldilocks. They keep you the same temperature all night long.
Yes. So perfect. The guy just has a great product.
The thing with Mike Lindell sheets, all of them, the fitted sheet at the bottom fits perfectly on the mattress. Every other sheet, you can't get the 4 corners on. And it's almost impossible. Even after having them for years and washing them, I don't know how many times, they still fit perfectly.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You're probably going to be on the next MyPillow commercial, just so you know, okay?
Okay.
Okay, just to let you know. You heard Lynn from Boynton. She loves her MyPillow sheets. Order yours right now at a huge discount. Use our promo code KANE, Kane, at checkout at MyPillow.com.
This is Dr. Philip Appleton. I'm a chiropractic physician. I've seen thousands and thousands of patients in my career. I've been a chiropractic physician here in Pompano Beach for 40 years. We're open 6 days a week. If you have sciatica, you have bursitis, you have tendonitis, you're tired of taking the pills, the drugs, the injections, and you heard that you have to live with it. Well, there's a lot of times you don't have to live with it. I've had great success with helping people. My testimonials are marvelous with patients. They love the treatment because no injections, there's no medication, there's no surgery. There's none of that. It's strictly either the laser or the acupuncture I do or shockwave therapy I do. Open 6 days a week. Come in for the free consultation and be willing to look at you and help you.
Take advantage of that no-charge consultation with Dr. Appleton. Remember, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonChiro.com. If you're a homeowner or with a homeowners association and your roof is old or compromised, you need to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. Laporta Roofing has been in the roofing and construction business since 1984, with thousands of roof installations and thousands of satisfied customers. Did you know that in the state of Florida, you can open a roofing company and borrow someone else's license? Tom Laporta is the holder of his roofing and general contractor's licenses, not like the other companies that borrow other people's licenses. So be sure who you're dealing with. Tom Laporta and his team are honest, knowledgeable, and reliable, and he'll never sell you a roof you don't need. Laporta Roofing carries all insurance, including workers' compensation on all of its employees, not just a waiver like other contractors. Laporta Roofing can handle any type of roofing job too. Residential roofing, HOAs, condominiums, and churches. If it's roofing, Laporta Roofing can do it. So call Tom Laporta on his cell phone, 954-604-4602, or connect online at laportaroofing.com. That number again is 954-604-4602. Laporta Roofing, the go-to roofing company you can trust. Are you ready to transform pain into purpose? From author Sammy Dunaway comes your guide to healing what hurts most in the book, Bridge to Redemption, The Power of Forgiveness, available on Amazon. This must-read book combines real-life stories with practical tools like journaling, mindfulness, and empathy building to help you release anger, regret, and bitterness. When you read Bridge to Redemption through the lens of divine grace, you'll learn to forgive others and yourself, mend broken relationships, and find the peace you've been longing for. Whether you're carrying deep wounds or seeking a fresh start, this book is your roadmap to a lighter, freer life. It also makes a great addition to your book club. Discover how forgiveness isn't just a gift for others. It's a lifeline for you, a bridge from pain to peace, from regret to redemption. Bridge to Redemption, The Power of Forgiveness is available now on Amazon. Your journey to healing starts right now.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Maybe we can start asking Democrats how their 401ks are. I love the story that the economy is doing so well, and a Dow closing well over 500 points. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah. You listen to these Democrats, these I'm not talking about the people in Washington or the media. I'm talking about the Democrats that call me in the mornings. They all have 401ks. They buy lots of eggs, and they're importers. They're very concerned about the tariffs and everything's going well. But that talking point's evaporating. And the other talking points that are evaporating for the Democrats is them backing this Garcia fake Maryland man. And there's a lot that's come out of him in the last day. One of them I played this morning, which I'm going to start with. This is a recording of Garcia, the MS-13 terrorist, wife beater, fake Maryland man. This is his wife talking about how he beat her up and how violent he is and why she didn't pursue charges.
Fill out a protective order. I think it was in December. But I didn't show up to the court because his family washed my brain telling me that his dad was sick and not to do it. So I didn't do anything. But after that, it was I would call the police. I have a lot of police reports, and I kept trying to get to the door basement to try to open the door, and then he pushed me. So then when I was able to go outside to get a phone, I called 911 from a disconnected phone. Now they took a long time to get to the house. It was probably 20-30 minutes. So I saw a neighbor walking his dog, and I opened the door and I was help. And then when he heard me, he grabbed me from my hair and then he slapped me. And then the neighbor, wow. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to react. I have pictures of the evidence, all the bruises, because it's not, even on Wednesday, he hit me around 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and hit me. And then last Saturday for my daughter's birthday party, before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times. And then last week I did call the police. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister.
Wow. I mean, that's the man's wife. And I know some people will say, well, she's all over television trying to get him back. Well, there's a couple possibilities with that. Of course, the two most obvious are this. One is it's stereotypical battered wife syndrome, where women who were beaten, sometimes for years and years, brutally by husbands or boyfriends or their old man, they invite them back in the house. It's just it's a problem. That's a possibility. There's another possibility too. She's afraid of the MS-13 gang. That's another possibility. And there's a third possibility also that's a pretty strong one, and that is they're giving her a lot of money. They've been raising a lot of money on these GoFundMes, and she could be close to being a millionaire by now. And if he comes, so of course she's out there talking that way. She doesn't want him back. He beats her up. And the first thing he's going to do is take the money. And I wouldn't be surprised if the money that she's been raising in these GoFundMes and everything, if it's being taken by MS-13 or even her scumbag husband that beat her up's family. They sound like a bunch of winners, don't they? I mean, it's so twisted what the Democrats are doing. This is a battered woman. This is a bad dude. And you don't want this guy anywhere in this country. Certainly not in the home of the woman that he beat up. I couldn't believe when she said, this was really, anytime you lay your hands on a woman's very bad. But she said he would wake up at 3 a.m. while she was asleep and he would just start beating her while she was sleeping. I've never heard a story like that before. You hear these stories of these abusive men. Have you ever heard something like that? Now, a story dropped that now we have video of. I'm going to play you the audio of it. Is he was human trafficking in Tennessee. He was driving across country from Maryland. Was it Texas? He was driving to. He was pulled over in a car. We've got the police body cam footage by the Tennessee Highway Patrol. And they knew he was human trafficking, but one of the people in the car came up on the terror watch list. So the Tennessee Highway Patrol called the FBI and they told him to let him go. So this is the Maryland man, Garcia, in the Tennessee Highway Patrol police body cam footage when they caught him human trafficking across America. Let me pull it up here. Here we go.
Now, the reason I stopped you, we was running 75 down through here.
75?
Yeah. Of course, this is 65 through here.
I know, I'm going to 70.
Going 70?
Yeah, what's the limits right now? Is 70 or 65?
It's 65.
Oh.
How many rows have you got in here? 4?
Where?
4 seats? 4 rows of seats?
Yeah, it's three seats. Yeah, with him. Yeah.
Did y'all put an extra one in?
Huh?
Did y'all put another one in?
No.
Did it come like this?
Use the truck.
I've never seen one with that many seats in it.
You know what you got here, right?
No.
He's hauling these people for money.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. But
it's another cop.
Sometimes they commingle dope.
No. But
there's 8 people in there.
Yeah, and the Biden FBI, the Chris Ray FBI, told them to let him go. There you have it. What are you Democrats thinking? What are you thinking? Why have you hitched your wagon to this guy or hitched your horse to this guy, whichever way the expression goes? Probably what happened here is the Democrats, they got in over their head, they got involved before they knew who he was, what he was about, and now they're married to him and they can't walk it back. But you're starting to see him disappear from the news from the liberal side. Hakeem Jeffries told Democrats to stop going to El Salvador to meet him. So they're trying to walk away from it. And now where the news is like what I'm sharing, is the truth about this monster is coming out and it's bad. But the Democrats, they already established themselves. Now, at Trump's 100-day rally in Michigan the other night, he brought up Scott Jennings from CNN. And Scott Jennings, he's very good on CNN, good MAGA guy. He's always filleting these Democrats. And he actually flew on Air Force One with the president. And there's been some talk that he might run for the Senate. And Scott Jennings earlier on Friday posted a photograph of himself standing next to President Trump, and President Trump sitting at his desk on Air Force One. And Scott Jennings is standing, looks like at attention, and he tweeted this: "Something big is coming, stay tuned. 3 American flags, 2 eyes, something big is coming, stay tuned." And, Scott Jennings, he's very good on television. He's one of the best I've ever seen on television, tearing down these liberals. And I kind of would like him to stay there on CNN as opposed to go to the Senate in a way. I mean, obviously he'd be very good in the Senate if he does what he does on the CNN panels. But he's doing such a good job on CNN, an incredible job breaking down these liberal narratives. Where do you think Scott Jennings could do the most good? In the United States Senate or on CNN? I know the immediate reaction is the Senate, and maybe we need him in the Senate more. J.D. Vance had to cast a tie-breaking vote this week. What's J.D. giving tie-breaking votes? We got the majority because we have some bad Republicans. That's why. But I don't know. I really don't want him to leave CNN. And CNN, they're going to be in big trouble without Scott Jennings. He's bringing them ratings and viewers and making them relevant and talked about and watched. And they're going to lose a lot of viewers with him. I see clips constantly, every day, clip after clip on X of Scott Jennings tearing down and exposing some CNN liberal. And now the CNN crew, the panelists that he's on with probably want him to run for the Senate. They might even donate to his campaign because he's tearing them up all the time. But it was nice to see him there with the president, Scott Jennings. Whatever he does, it'll be good. Elon and DOGE were on with Jesse Waters last night, and it was a really, really good interview. I mean, there's just no getting around it. I mean, it was an excellent interview. But it was much better than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting a lot of new information from it, and we got a lot. I want to play one clip. This is Jesse Waters on Fox Thursday night, and he's interviewing the entire DOGE team and Elon.
A lot of great work in the Treasury this week. One of the crazy things with regards to the Treasury is that when a payment is made, and the computers at the Treasury actually pay about $5 trillion per year, like crazy amounts, there was formerly not a budget code on there. So if a payment was made, you didn't know actually what it was for. It could have been for.
Well, that's completely insane. And how long has this been going on? You could just tell them you wanted money. You don't have to tell them what it's for. And they just send you money from the U.S. Treasury?
For anything. Yeah. There was a $4 billion COVID fund in the Department of Education. And there was no receipts required, so people could just draw down on it. And when people looked into it, this wasn't us, this was before us, they found that money was being used to rent out Caesar's Palace for parties, rent out stadiums, et cetera. And so the one change that DOGE made with the Department of Education is we had the simple requirement that if you draw down money, you must first upload a receipt. That was the only change that was made. You must upload your receipt. And upon doing so, nobody drew down any money anymore.
Yes, but we didn't say that we'd check the receipt. You could send a fake receipt. You could send a picture of your dog.
Wow.
Anything. And but as soon as we asked for anything at all, suddenly the requests were like, oh, we don't need it anymore.
So that tells you that they knew they were stealing, right? I mean, now that there's going to be some accountability or record, they don't want it. They don't need the money. They don't want the money. They're not even attempting to get the money. See, one of the biggest shocks, there's been a lot of shocking things from DOGE, but I think the most shocking thing is that the United States government, the largest economy in the world, only has one bank account. Isn't that nuts? I guess it makes it easier to get the money if they only have one bank account. That one blew me away. How dangerous is that, right? To the economy of the world. If hackers got into that one bank account, that's it. The entire economy of the planet Earth, not just our country, would collapse.
That's interesting.
They were renting Caesar's Palace.
Yes. They were basically partying on the taxpayer money.
Stadiums.
Yes.
Leasing stadiums. For what?
For parties, basically.
For parties.
Yes.
That's a big party.
It's a big party.
You'd think if you were stealing, you'd start small.
They do start small. But then what happens is over the years, so generally the fraud starts out small and they try to hide it. But then year after year, if nobody stops the fraud, it gets more and more brazen. And every year it gets bigger until they're literally renting out stadiums. Like
what kind of $1 million to rent out a stadium?
Fraud in flagrante delicto. Okay, we're talking at scale.
This is driving me crazy.
Oh yeah.
When you find these things, do you guys get mad? You're like, yes, I got one. How does it make you feel?
It's so common.
It's so common.
You're like used to it.
I mean, you just get
numb to it.
Unfortunately, like the 100th time you've heard it, it's hard not to get a little numb.
You know, this it's crazy, isn't it? What DOGE is doing is going to have such long-term effects in ways that I don't think people have realized yet. You know, with the big, beautiful bill that's coming, it's got big tax cuts, and there's going to be tax cuts in every bill President Trump has in this term. And my guess would be, you know, we're going to get the no tax on tips and everything in the big, beautiful bill. The next presidential election, if things go according to plan for President Trump, and they have been going according to plan so far, so there's no reason to think that it wouldn't, but in the next presidential election is when President Trump is going to start talking about doing away with income taxes and funding the entire country on tariffs. And Democrat in this big, beautiful bill is going to have all the, you know, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. I hope they put in the allowing people to deduct the interest off their auto loans on American-made cars. That'd be awesome. But Democrats always go out and argue against tax cuts. And they have a talking point. How are you going to pay for them? You're going to cut this off. You're going to cut that off. The Social Security lockbox. Now we know there is no Social Security lockbox or Medicare lockbox or Medicaid lockbox. It's all one bank account. But what's going to happen from now and for decades is when the Democrats oppose tax cuts, and we are all very overtaxed, Republicans are going to point to the fraud that DOGE found. Like, look, they were taking money and renting out Caesar's Palace, renting out stadiums. And this is going to have a long-term effect beyond the immediate things we're talking about in regards to the Republicans being able to get tax cuts pushed through and bills from now and for decades from now. And people in this country are being red-pilled each and every single day for so many reasons. And DOGE has just done an amazing job. I mean, Elon Musk is such a great man, and the people he's assembled there are just a team of brilliant people. They're like the scientists that worked on the Apollo program, right? I mean, they're amazing. Now, everything you do today, you just have to assume you're being recorded when you're out in public, right? You guys do. Even me at my little tiny level, the little tiny level of celebrity that I have. When I have personal appearances, people are filming me. It's I've gotten used to it over the years, but it never used to be that way. But now everybody has cameras everywhere, and you know, and sometimes I'll see people. I give you an example. When we went to I'm not going to tell you what they said because I don't want to give the people that try to do this the credit. But when we had our inauguration party for Trump's second term at Wings Plus on Inauguration Day, what people do, because we had a lot of people, it was standing room only, there weren't enough seats or tables. We had so many people there on that day. And what people do is they'll have someone try to start some absurd conversation with me and try to get me to, you know, it's like the callers when they call me on the show. They have this fantasy of what they're going to say and how I'm going to respond. And they'll have someone, sometimes it's their kid, sometimes it's a friend or somebody they're with. They'll have them recording, and they think they're going to catch me saying that's just what it is. But when but when you're really famous, like a lot of people, it's much worse than that. And Senator John Fetterman, he ran into an airplane incident, and I really hate flying. When I was a kid in the 70s. And in the early 80s, I was born in 1971. So when I first started, I used to fly a lot when I was a kid because my parents were divorced. And my dad lived in Florida, and my mom and I lived in Ohio. And I used to fly to Florida every summer and spend the summers in Florida with my dad. And my grandparents on my dad's side of the family lived in Florida too. And I used to fly a lot. And back then, in the 70s and early 80s, flying was a big deal. People got dressed up, you know, and it was great. It was luxurious, even if you were in coach. And now it's like taking the Greyhound bus. I went a lot of years without flying. I flew to Los Angeles to visit my daughter for the first time last year. And that was the first time I had flown since 2009. I'm not a big flyer. I don't like flying. I don't feel safe flying. If you listen to me a lot, you've heard me talk about it. I go to the airport lounge and have screwdrivers before I fly. In fact, on my last flight out to Los Angeles a couple months ago, I went to the American Express Airport Lounge. It's like 6 a.m, and I had screwdrivers at the bar. They're free at the airport lounge because I don't like flying. And they have the seats. They have you cramped. It's just not like. And everybody dresses like bums. They dress like hobos on planes now. It's just not the way it used to be. And that makes me hate flying even more. But John Fetterman, I'm going to play you the audio. And this just broke, so I've not been able to enhance the audio, but I'll turn it up as loud as I can. Senator John Fetterman, he's on a plane. He's being recorded by someone that is 3 rows behind him. And he's blocking his flight from Pittsburgh from taking off because he's arguing with the pilot. He doesn't want to wear a seatbelt. Now, he probably doesn't want to wear a seatbelt because he's so big, maybe it doesn't fit. But federal regulations require you wear a seatbelt. But he's Senator John Fetterman, and the pilot comes and they have a discussion. Listen.
Is your seatbelt on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it needs to be visible for the crew at all times. That's not an us thing. That's a federal regulation. So it's okay. It's okay.
I put my seatbelt on and I haven't said anything.
Okay, it's okay, but it just has to be visible to the crew at all times. It's a federal regulation, so if your seatbelt's on, it just has to be visible. And right now, it's not visible.
See, he's taken the seatbelt off. He put it on when they do the walk by so they could see it on, and then he undid it. He's a big guy. Well, lose some weight. Stop drinking. Stop eating the Doritos so much.
He won't extender if you'd like that.
He's arguing with the pilot. Oh, the pilot says we can give you an extender, the seatbelt extender.
We have an extender if you'd like that. It'll make it bigger so it can go outside of your sweatshirt. Would that work? Sir, if you want to go to Pittsburgh, it's simple. You have to follow our instructions, or you're going to ask to get off here. We're not asking much. Let it happen. Like all that we need is to be able to see your seatbelt.
What a jerk Fetterman is.
I'm not sure what's okay, well, it's a federal regulation, so if I don't make you do it, then I get in trouble, and I don't want to get in trouble because I like my job.
You can hear the person filming giggle. They're laughing at Fetterman. Wow. And he just won't do it. Now you got to wonder, is he looks like comatose, so he could be totally tanked, and in the bag and drunk. Or he could just be an arrogant Democrat who thinks, I'm a sitting United States senator. Don't you know who I am? I'm Senator John Fetterman. I can do what I want. But you can't do what you want. And that's the rules. That's the law. But Democrats, they don't think the rules apply to them. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'm Brian. We'll be back right after this. Are you tired of pouring hours into social media posts only to get nothing? Struggling against those invisible algorithms that are burying your content? You're not alone, but there is help available with AI Prompt Power, the new book available at itproductionsllc.com. AI Prompt Power shares high-converting social media prompts for explosive marketing success. With AI Prompt Power, you'll learn to crush algorithms, create viral content in just 5 minutes, and skyrocket your engagement and your sales. You don't need writing skills or even tech expertise. With psychology-backed prompts and platform-specific hacks for Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and more, you'll future-proof your strategy to dominate the social media landscape. AI Prompt Power is perfect for social media managers, entrepreneurs, content creators, and those of you in marketing who are ready to leave the guessing game behind and win big. Don't waste another post. Unlock the secret to viral success right now and order your copy of AI Prompt Power online at itproductionsllc.com. That's itproductionsllc.com. Are you looking for graphic tees that actually say something? At Dead Serious Tees on Etsy, you'll find bold designs with serious attitude, made for those just like you who don't go basic. Dead Serious Tees have everything you're looking for, from alt street style to bare bones prints, dead serious workout gear, and hot mess tanks. Everything is designed for self-expression with just the right amount of edge. Every piece is made to order, crafted with intention, creativity, and zero waste. The designs come straight from late-night sketches and raw inspiration. One day it's minimalistic line work. The next, it's a neon cyberpunk explosion. No matter the mood, every tee dares you to wear it loud and unapologetically. If you're ready to ditch ordinary and embrace bold, it's time to check out Dead Serious Tees on Etsy. Graphic tees that don't apologize. Online at deadserioustees.etsy.com. That's deadserioustees.etsy.com. Dead Serious Tees. Wear your attitude. Have you been searching for that perfect cup of coffee or tea? Your search is over, thanks to Ember and Oak Coffee. At Ember and Oak Coffee, your coffee isn't brewed until you place your order. Because freshness shouldn't be a feature, it should be a promise. And at Ember and Oak Coffee, it is. Whether you're a coffee or tea lover, or someone who loves the convenience of single-serve capsules, Ember and Oak Coffee has exactly what you're looking for. Every sip is crafted to awaken your senses, and it's all delivered right to your doorstep. And freshness is always guaranteed. And the best part, free shipping on all orders in the United States. That's right, free shipping on all U.S. orders. So why settle for average coffee and tea when you can savor the exceptional? Visit emberandoakcoffee.com today and discover what your mornings have been missing. emberandoakcoffee.com, brewed fresh and delivered free in the United States. emberandoakcoffee.com. 1,000 Years of Peace, Shattered, in the powerful first book in author T.J. Bell's new fantasy saga, Everything the Light Touches, Chasing Shadows, available on Amazon. The ancient war between light and dark is no longer history. It's waking up. In the world of Galamid, whispers of violence spread, shadows move where none should, and one unlikely hero is caught in the storm, forced to choose between faith, fate, and the truth buried deep within the darkness. This is more than a battle between good and evil. It's a reckoning. When you read Everything the Light Touches, you'll journey through breathtaking lands, confront dark magic, uncover forbidden secrets, and witness the forging of legends. With unforgettable characters and a story that will draw you in from the very first page, Everything the Light Touches is a must-read for fantasy fans and the perfect pick for your next book club. Order your copy right now on Amazon. The light is fading. Are you ready to chase the shadows? Everything the Light Touches, Chasing Shadows, from author T.J. Bell on Amazon.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. Thanks for listening. I love that President Trump signed an executive order defunding NPR in public television. And it's not just because they're liberal. PBS makes a lot of money. Sesame Street, their document, they make money. And they have members. They don't need the government money. And NPR, left wing, they got a lot of money too. And I've been to a couple of PBS stations in my time. And if you've, and I've also had a friend that went and worked at NPR. You go to NPR and PBS stations, they have top of the line equipment. They have things that private television and radio stations would never even think of buying. You know, I remember once I was at I had a friend years ago who did a show once a week for PBS. It was a talk show with a studio audience and everything. And so I've been to these things many, many times. And I was once with Steve Kane. We went to a PBS station in Miami. And they had all of these sets for the different shows that they had. And they had a lot of them. And they were in this soundstage. It was a soundstage like you would see in Hollywood. They had all these sets and they were all dark. And Steve was going to be a guest on one of the shows. And I remember they came out and the lights went on the set that he was going to be on, and they were going to move it to a part of the soundstage. And I was expecting them to have 5 or 10 guys come out and pull this set, or maybe even have these guys come out and hook it up to a forklift or something, or some kind of truck and move it. It was on remote control. And these sets are big. They're like floats in the Macy's parade. One guy came out with a remote control and moved it. And I was talking to him. I was like, oh, wow. And I told him what I just told you. He's like, no, I can control all these sets with this. A private television station would just have some stagehands come out and move it. They wouldn't have it on remote control like floats. It's too much money. And years ago, that's PBS station I was at. National Public Radio in their Washington, D.C. office about 15 or 20 years ago built themselves a new facility. And they invited the Washington Press Corps to see it. It was insane. What they not only did they have the top of the line equipment on the taxpayers' dole, they had a beekeeper with beehives on the roof so that everybody on the air could have fresh honey from the beehives from the beekeeper to help their throats. Have you ever heard that? Can you imagine? Now, a lot of people in my business, I don't do this, and I probably should start. Maybe I'll start doing this because everyone tells me to do this. I'm the only broadcaster who doesn't use honey for their throat. I don't know why I don't. But everyone I know that uses honey, right? They have a bottle of honey, and some of them have a spoon, but some of it just drink it out of the bottle. But not public radio. They got a damn beekeeper, okay? So with beehives, with the fresh honey. That's NPR. So no, they should have been cut off. They've made enough money off of Elmo and Big Bird and Sesame Street to fund PBS. And God only knows how much money they make from idiot members that send them money after they're getting all the government money anyway. And NPR does very, very well. They have corporate sponsors, which they're not supposed to have, and everything else. So don't worry about it. Now, Trump stopped Jeff Bezos and Amazon from really messing up bad the other day. Amazon announced that they were going to have they were going to change their website and have next to the price of a good, whatever it was you were buying on Amazon, right next to it, have the tariff price. And President Trump got pretty pissed off about that. Carolyn Levitt came out and was outraged. And a reporter says, well, what's the big deal? And she says, well, products that come from California have all kinds of fees. I don't hear them listing the California fees. And Trump called personally Jeff Bezos. Well, he probably had Bezos call him, right? But Trump got on the phone with Jeff Bezos, and within an hour, they stopped it. And President Trump has done such a great favor to Amazon. And I betcha he reminded Jeff Bezos of this. Every time there's someone who's number one, especially in the retailing space, there's always someone bigger who comes along, right? And Amazon has done incredible damage to Walmart. Walmart's still big and successful, but not as big and successful as they used to be. I cannot remember the last time I went inside a Walmart and bought something. I can't. Can you? You can get it off Amazon the same day or the next morning. And a lot of times cheaper, and you don't have to spend. I have to use my time efficiently, and I'm very busy with all of my work that I do, and I don't have time to spend an hour going to Walmart and picking up something that I could just click and have delivered here, and I might even get it the same day or the next day or the day after. You know what I mean? How often do you need something right this moment? And Amazon has really, really hurt Walmart. I mean, look at what Netflix did to Blockbuster. Blockbuster, before Blockbuster Video, there were independent family-run video stores in every neighborhood in America. And I was a kid then, and I thought, wow, when I grow up, I want to own a video store. Well, I'm glad I didn't take that career path. But Netflix came along, and I remember getting my wife and I, we became Netflix people right away. Remember, you could get like the 3 CDs in the mail at a time, DVDs, you'd mail them back. It was so great. And Netflix, especially when they got into the streaming, put Blockbuster out of business. Blockbuster put the independent video store owners out of business. And then Netflix put Blockbuster out of business. And while Walmart has not been put out of business by Amazon, their bottom line's been hit pretty hard. And Bezos at Amazon had this attitude that they were too big to fail. Like Walmart used to have like Blockbuster used to have. And then Teemu came along, which is China. And their goods aren't as good as Amazon, but they were a threat to Amazon. And now the tariffs that President Trump is putting on China are helping Amazon big time because of the Teemu. They ship everything from China on Teemu. So the story right now in the Daily Mail, bargain fast fashion chain Teemu has halted all shipments into the United States from China. Currently, Teemu is only selling products that are stocked in American warehouses. And I don't know what they're thinking with that is. They may be so arrogant that they think that Americans will be outraged. Americans really don't like Teemu. I think maybe a lot of people liked it at first. And if you've ordered any Teemu products, I know Kathy and I have ordered a few things from Teemu. They're so cheap. I mean, they're really cheap. They're like dollar store products, a lot of them. People want Teemu to go away. They want it to fade away. They may not like Jeff Bezos and all this Blue Origin egomania going on, but they don't like Teemu. And if Teemu thinks they're going to hurt us or get us to rally behind them, that's not going to happen. But look what Trump is helping Jeff Bezos so much. He's saving Amazon. Teemu was competition for Amazon, and maybe they would have increased the quality of their products in the future, because whatever these companies are when they first, look at Amazon. They used to sell like books, used books, and then look what they became. But Teemu, which was a direct danger to the future success of Amazon, and boom, they're history now. They're on the verge of being hit because of the tariffs. So that's a good thing. And I wonder if President Trump ran that by Jeff Bezos when he had that phone conversation with him the other day. Whatever he said to him, Jeff Bezos immediately had them change that. And Walmart, as soon as Amazon announced they were going to put the tariff prices next to the goods, Walmart within seconds, within minutes, announced in a press release that they were going to increase their inventory of American-made goods. Right? They were like, "Oh, this is our chance." So that's a good thing. I hope Teemu fades away. They're kind of like the TikTok of the online retailers. A couple other quick things I want to ask you. You guys can let me know what you think about this in the comments. One is Ron DeSantis. He's my governor here. He's term limited out of office. So this is his last term. And he was on with Laura Ingraham on Fox. And he told her he's willing to fly illegal aliens from Florida to El Salvador. And he said he could round up 10,000 illegals within 72 hours. And he has a plan if Homeland Security approves it. Ron DeSantis says and does a lot of the right things, but I can never trust this guy again after his betrayal of President Trump. I just can't trust him anymore. No matter what he says, no matter what he does. I like his idea there. That's good. But can you trust Ron DeSantis? Would you trust Ron DeSantis? Will you ever trust Ron DeSantis again? Let me know in the comments. Even if he does all MAGA stuff moving forward, would you ever trust Ron DeSantis? The only scenario in which I could trust Ron DeSantis is if President Trump brings him back into the fold and gives him a job or endorses him for something. But short of that, I cannot. Now, one other thing I want to mention, they did this, and they're really on Pete Hegseth, aren't they? Oh man! And Media Research Center did news analysis on coverage of Pete Hegseth, and found that the news coverage from the mainstream media, the network news coverage of Pete Hegseth in the first 100 days was 100% negative, 100%. Not one positive story. These never Trumpers in the fake news media are desperate. They are desperate to get President Trump to fire someone, to remove someone, to drop someone. And it's not going to happen like this Tim Walz thing. I'm sorry, Tim. I keep thinking about Tim Walz. Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz, they thought they had it, that he's no longer a national security advisor. Trump makes him UN ambassador. The media, they just don't care that they're not trusted anymore. They just don't care that people don't believe them anymore. They still do what it is they do. And getting the USAID money that was funding a lot of the media cut off hasn't stopped them, has it? No. How could you have 100% negative coverage of Pete Hegseth? Come on. He's doing such a great job with the Marines, on the southern border, they've totally stopped. 99.99% of illegal crossings have stopped. And Pete Hegseth, having the military down there under his leadership, is one of the major reasons why. He's doing a great job. You can't tell me there's not one good story they could report. No, because they want him out. I'm